During these quarantine times, me and my homies have been gaming a lot more than usual, and one of these games that we've been playing just absolutely tons of has been Dragon Ball FighterZ. A couple months ago, a friend wanted to go a few rounds with me after watching a show together, and then the following week the game was on sale on the Switch eShop, so I said fuck it and picked it up. Little did I know that this would evolve into a friend group full of sweaty assholes trying to one-up each other in a fighting game. And as with most games, it's gotten me knee-deep into the community. As of right now, Ultra Instinct Goku is like a week away from being released, and me and my friends keep hypothesizing about who could be the next character in the game. So today I wanted to make a little bit of a shorter video trying to guess who's going to be in FighterZ Pass 3 based off what we know about the other FighterZ Passes and what's currently in FighterZ Pass 3. Let's dive into this. So with each FighterZ Pass containing a different amount of fighters, it's a bit difficult trying to establish patterns with each one, because each one has more characters devoted to different things. But with my expert analysis, each pack has a character who is meant to point to the new stuff, a character who is meant to point to the old stuff, a movie character, and a character meant to demonstrate the new old stuff. That category sounds dumb, but it's more of a new interpretation or form of an old character, like how Gogeta is blue but still has his thing with Janemba. So with my expert analysis skills, I am predicting that FighterZ Pass 3 is going to have some variation of these four categories. So, I will give you a character that fits the bill of each of these four categories. Also, FighterZ character select screen has this gimmick where it's split down the middle between heroes and villains, but since there's 5 characters in FighterZ Pass 3, unless they do another pass or have a standalone DLC character, it's gonna be off balance somehow. So I'm gonna provide both a good guy and a bad guy option to each of these 4 categories. Also, I'm not sure whether or not Mastered Ultra Instinct Goku will fit into the dynamic of new old stuff or just new stuff, so I'm going to leave him out of the discussion, as we will only know which role he was meant to fill by the end of the season pass. So to start, the new guys. Well, this one's already easy. In terms of antagonist, the game has already done that for me in the form of Kefla, who's not entirely an antagonist, but since she's fought against and considered one of the arc challenges, she's listed as a bad guy in this bad guy good guy combo. So for the good guy, so to speak, of the newer Dragon Ball stuff, my personal pick is Kaba. He's basically the same level of bad guy as Kefla is, but the difference is, in the show they seem to champion Kaba much more as an ally than legitimate threat, especially with Vegeta. Meanwhile, Kefla almost fucked up Goku. That and it would give us all of the universe 6 Saiyans in FighterZ, and we all know that Dragon Ball loves its Saiyans. With older characters, it really feels like the bases have been covered. Just about every character who has some kind of presence in Z appears in FighterZ, but there's a few missing. And while I see characters like Raditz, Majin Vegeta, or Dabura brought up time and time again on the subreddit, I think it would make more sense to include more characters from the Dragon Ball show everyone wants to forget, Dragon Ball GT. And I think that both the hero and the villain slot for older characters could be attributed here, with Omega Shenron and Majub. While those other characters I mentioned earlier have their own merits, GT still has plenty of unexplored territory for the devs of FighterZ to sink their teeth into. I always thought Oob was pretty nifty, and he's also the last new character we see introduced in the original run of Z, and Majub just seems like a natural fit for FighterZ. As for Omega Shenron though, I'll be honest, this one's just kinda here to check a box. It would be weird to include Kid Goku without the big bad of the series, and he's just kinda cool looking, if a bit derpy. My final point in this portion will be that I do not understand the hype for Majin Vegeta. I see him mentioned all the time on the subreddit. It was a cool moment in the boot arc, but as his own character, I don't think he will work as well or satisfy nearly as many people as the subreddit for FighterZ seems to think it will. Anyways, on to the next category. Movie characters are a hard area because, well, most every noteworthy character from the old Dragon Ball movies is already in FighterZ. Well, everyone except for one, Tapion. The Wrath of the Dragon will forever stand as one of my favorite older Dragon Ball movies because it gives meaning behind one of the weirdest things in Dragon Ball to me, and that is why Future Trunks uses a sword other than to look cool. The Wrath of the Dragon and Tapion explain that, and Tapion's just a cool character. Asking Trunks to kill him at the end of the movie is so fucking metal, and I love that. Anyways, as for a standout villain from the movies who isn't already in FighterZ, that's a harder question, but for me, either Bojack or some amalgamation of androids 13, 14, and 15 would be pretty cool to me. But as previously stated, they already have most of the iconic movie villains covered, so anyone else here is just a bonus. This one was my favorite category to brainstorm new characters for, because new versions of characters previously not featured heavily is interesting regardless of the format. As for who though? Well, I think most obviously for the good guys is Master Roshi from Super. After not being in a single fight for so goddamn long, Roshi finally got the chance to pull out some cool moves in Super, specifically in the Tournament of Power. I think even though this guy can't fly or properly Dragon Rush, he would single-handedly satisfy plenty of Dragon Ball fans if he was included. As for a villain who satisfies this description of old character used in a new/interesting way, it's much harder. As for the biggest example of a villain being brought back and used again was Frieza, who's already on the base roster. And while this character is not truly a villain, I think that this character fought well enough against our heroes to establish herself as a antagonizing threat for the few episodes she was included in. And of course, this character I am referring to is Arale. Arale would be a textbook gag character, but since she's the only gag character who would logically be able to stand toe-to-toe with half of the roster, I think she's a-okay in my book. Also, I think it would be a fun nod to Toriyama's past works. That, and trying to find a villain who fit into this criteria was a lot more difficult than I was expecting, since most Dragon Ball villains are basically done past their arc. So, those are my picks. They're a bit unorthodox compared to most people's, but I always like looking at these kind of things from weird angles anyways. If you liked what you saw here today, please make sure to like and subscribe and all that nonsense. If you want to tell me your picks for DLC characters, let me know in the comments. And finally, I've been RVRocks, and thank you so much for watching. See ya!